Hey, Michelle.
You're going to record me?
Yeah, one of the gals can't be on tonight. One of my high school classmates, her daughter had surgery yesterday. So,
Oh, well, prayers for her and her daughter.
yeah.
How are you doing?
Good. I actually have COVID right now. I'm in quarantine. So, tested positive yesterday. Had a little gunk and a fever and took a test. And so but I'm just making the most of it. It's like not terrible, is what
Work
it
at
is.
home. Yeah, hopefully you just stay with a mild case.
Yeah. Yeah, I went out and moved snow today, so I'm feeling a lot better. Yesterday I didn't feel so good, but today's a lot better. So otherwise, no, it's not bad. I just make good use of the time. Sometimes it's nice to slow down. You're forced to slow down, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, it could be a lot worse. I know people that have gone to the hospital and been really messed up by it. So I'm pretty thankful. It's been pretty mild for me. So
Good. Let it stay that way.
Hey, Tanya.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we were gonna have one more, but she just actually reached out. Her daughter's recovering from surgery, so it's one of my high school classmates. So I'm recording it for people that may want to get on tonight and couldn't. So, but it's always better to do these things live. I feel like you watch the recording, there's better interaction. So, so thank you guys for being on here tonight. You're kind of the elite that would take the time to do this. Not a lot of people take the time to do these things, but I see this is a pivotal. Kind of what separates the proverbial men from the boys, not to be sexist or anything, but, like people that really have achievements, and have successful years where they can look back on and look, I really got a lot done. I really feel take this extra time to do these things, and we're not going to get through tonight. What I want to do is kind of lay the groundwork and we'll start the process. But the process really to me is it's kind of like when you write a paper or anything, you go back, you do a rough draft and you go back and you do some editing. Even today I have a business coach and I showed her my goals and she actually did some editing on it too, just kind of had a good look at them. And it's good to show them to somebody, like you can show them to me and then have some feedback on them too, just to make sure they look dialed in. Cause I know like some of our clients, some of their goals look more like action steps, like they're action steps versus, it's like they're talking about doing something, but why are you doing it? So, so that's a good place to start out, I think, is really I'm going to share the screen here. Is develop a personal mission statement. Who do you want to be? What do you want your life to reflect? Go a little deeper and it should fire you up. And I'll show you guys mine. And I didn't come up with this overnight. I know I was working with one of my online clients with this, and he just kind of like, what's this all for? And I said, well, you got to decide what that is and have a mission statement. So I'll share mine because I wrote this a few years ago and it has really stuck with me, but I remember it took a few tries to get it. So I'm going to share the screen and then where is my mission statement here? Let's see. So this a couple of years ago, our pastor at our church did a thing on being a conduit, not a container. A conduit is where things flow through you, and a container, somebody just kind of does everything, keeps everything to themselves. And me being a guy of faith, I don't think God wants us to, just hoard things to ourselves. He wants us to be out there doing things. So I started off with my favorite scripture. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I love that scripture. It's just powerful scripture. But it's like this, sometimes we just go through life and we just try to get through the days, and it's that sense of urgency. Like, I don't know, I know each day to me counts. And to have that attitude of every day counts, you never know what a day is going to bring. So I'll just read it out. Each day counts because I don't know how many days I have left on this planet. So I'm going to make each one count because the Lord has given me talents and abilities to bless others, not to hoard to myself. So each day, focus, serve, and leave, letting the Lord work through me to accomplish his will for my life. This applies to every area of my life. I do not strive to earn my salvation since it's bought and paid for by the blood of Christ, but to whom much has been given, much is expected. I always feel like, that doesn't mean I just sit around and do my own thing. So I take this seriously and want to run a good race. I always talk about in the New Testament. Paul says, I've run the good race. I've finished the race. I like that. It's like, I feel like this is a race and I want to come in sprinting, not limping. And because I love the Lord and I look forward to the day when I want to hear him say, well done, good and faithful servant. To me, that speaks to my faith. It fires me up. And I know it's good because there's been days when I haven't been motivated to go out and do the things I know I'm supposed to do. And that mission statement, that purpose, it, applies to all areas of my life. If I really take that into every area of my life. So, even like today, my wife is, she's not feeling good and she's right now COVID negative, but she's got a headache. And she asked me to go out and, I want to get out of the house and go pick some drop off orders at the Target and, do some things. So I'm like, I'm not gonna, if I can do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out and move snow. I'm gonna be a servant's attitude, in my marriage, because I know that's something that makes my wife happy, and like in the past, it'd be like, I kind of do the eye roll and like, don't leave me alone. I'm doing my stuff, So I think since I've had this, and when it applies to all areas of my life, this mission statement, it really kind of covers them all. I don't want to do anything slack, and in the past I'd be really good in one area and the other area I'd be like, this isn't a big deal. It's not important to me. Well, stuff around the house is important to my wife. And, so if it's important to her, it's got to be important to me. So I use that example as like, planning to be intentional about setting goals of what I'm going to do with, to do that, instead of saying, I'm just going to try to be a good husband, how do you define that? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight is getting just more clear on what that looks like, because we all know like our spouse, and significant others that, what are the things that light them up? And they're not necessarily things that light us up. You guys have probably heard of the love languages. So, a lot of times I look at that when I set my goal setting, and I'll share my goals with you. But this does, all three of these things, who do you want to be? Well, I want to represent God good in everything I do. And, I want my life to reflect that I did that. And when I read this, it fires me up. So it covers those three bases for me. So I encourage people, if they really want to, and it takes some thought, and you want to make it, it's like my one client wrote like a whole page. I said, no, make it short so you can just kind of get through it quick. But pare it down to kind of define who do you want to be, and what, I always talk about the eulogy speech. What do you want people to say about you when you're gone? And that to me is like, I want my life to mean something more than just serving myself. So,
All right, I gotta tell you that the sign at the church that we have our nonprofit offices at today said, live your life so they don't have to lie about you at your funeral. Something like that. It wasn't that, I didn't say it as well, but
that's good though, because you do see that somebody dies and all of a sudden they're a saint and you're like, well, maybe not so much. So, but no, that's great. It's a great saying. So that's that thing. And then this Harvard Business School, this is actually really, I just pulled this up because have you guys heard of the Harvard Goal Study? So having things well defined is really important. In the Harvard MBA study, I believe it was in the late 70s, they did this study and they had all the graduate students, they took a poll, and the ones that actually, 84% of them had no goals at all, 13% had written goals, but they didn't have plans. They just had the goals. But the 3% that had the written goals and plans were making twice as much money as the people that had goals were making twice as much money as the 84% of the class that had no goals at all. And that was the 13%, but the 3% of the class were making 10 times as much as 97% of the class. And it's kind of an interesting study. I refer back to it all the time, but it shows the power of focus, as having things not just, I want to lose weight, I want to get in shape, but what does that look like, and having a focus goal? And Tanya knows, like, we had a big deadlift goal last year. I mean, when you were zeroed in on that sucker about all getting on the board, I remember, because it was very specific and well defined, and you went after that thing. Even though we got shut down because of COVID, you came right back and picked up and nailed that thing. So because it was just something out there that you knew exactly where you wanted to go and how close you were. And that's why I like strength goals. Sometimes they're really good goals for people. I had somebody hit a 200-pound deadlift last week and fired her up. I just put her up as winner of the week, and she's a wife of one of my classmates, and she was crying. She was so happy, and she said it was good for her soul. It was really cool. But my definition of SMART goals is it's got to be specific. Not all goals, like family goals, are going to look different than obviously business goals are going to probably have more numbers to them. But be specific about it, and then make it measurable somehow, and then make it attainable. I would say attainable because sometimes they have to be realistic of where they're at. And not just, we're not just talking about fitness, like athletic wise, but like with their schedules and the demands on their life. I think this time of year, and this is something I've been guilty of, is people will actually, they kind of overwhelm themselves. They get really fired up and they set too many goals, and they're all really lofty, and then they don't really make any progress on any of them. So you have to be careful of not getting too gung ho and make it attainable, and being realistic with where you're at and looking at all the other things you got to balance in your life. And that's where number R comes in. R used to be realistic, which I think is really redundant with attainable. I heard someone use it as relevant. So relevant to me means it's going to help support the other goals. What good is it to have a really hardcore fitness goal and then tank your family and your work, because all you do is think about is your training and your eating, and I've been there with that, when I did my first bodybuilding show, very, very selfish, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and I didn't give her any time. It was all about me. And as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser, now that I've done 3 of those things, when I've been married, I've been more intentional. If I'm going to do this, I've actually gotten better in those areas because I'm more intentional about, if I'm going to do this, I have to maintain balance in the other areas of my life. And so, I think a good goal isn't going to damage other areas of your life. And sometimes that can happen. You can see people that, get into like running marathons all the time or whatever it is, becomes an idol, and it starts to take over their life. And that's all they don't have that balance. And then timely is setting some timely goals, setting some deadlines for the goals. And sometimes they're self-imposed because you have you sign up for a race, or you have a trip coming up or something like that. But if you don't, it's good to set some timeline, is a deadline to get the thing done, and so that's another thing people don't do, is they're like, well, I want to get in shape in 2022. Well, what does that mean? Where does that look at? What does that look like? Is it strength? Is it body fat? Is it running a 5K? Get clear on what you want to accomplish. And then number 3, the process is really important, is because you have to do this on undistracted time. A lot of people I'll see, like when they bring their goal sheet in, I can tell they filled it out like maybe 10 minutes in the parking lot before they came in. It's just very hurried. I can tell, or the people it's very well thought out, you can tell there's like a lot of thought put into it versus like 1 sentence answers. And so undistracted time, and you're probably going to have to do this multiple times, because it is mental exercise. Mental exercise, can wear you out mentally. So I look at it as like, you might do an hour here, an hour there, and just block off some time to do that. You might need to go to a Starbucks or the library or somewhere where you don't have any distractions to do this. But that's part of the process. It's not a one and done thing. If you want to do this right, start at yearly and then work back. I like working back to quarterly. So I'll have a yearly goal, work it back to quarterly, and then I'll work it into monthly. And I'll share mine with you before we start this process. But and then I have a little thing, the Phil Novitskiy story. So I say this because back when I was a younger trainer in my 20s, I had a client named Phil Novitskiy. He was really overweight, super nice guy, big golfer. I met him I used to stretch people at the golf course, and he decided he wanted to train with me. He wanted to lose 50 pounds. But we set this goal to lose 50 pounds, but we didn't set like short-term goals on the way. So we just had this big 50-pound goal. Well, like I think the first month or, month of 6 weeks into it or so, or maybe 2 months into it, he'd lost over 10 pounds, but all he could see was the 40 pounds he hadn't lost, and he fired me as a trainer. And I realized if I would have just reframed that as, okay, if you're losing in 6 months, if you're losing 8 point something a month, you're on track. He would have thought, well, I'm on track, versus I still have 40 pounds to go. I haven't lost enough. And I still remember that, just because I haven't been fired too often as a trainer. But when I did, I was like, why did that happen? What did I do wrong? And I learned from it. And, he did actually come back and train with me years later at my new place. But it was a good lesson to me. Like, I didn't frame that right to him. And I look at it like, you live out in some ski, and there's some ski hills, Michelle. So like the big mogul hills, we don't have we have fake black diamonds here in Minnesota, but real black diamonds in Colorado or out west, in the mountains. I know one time, the story I share is that, like I like to ski in Vail, and I've skied like Steamboat. But I remember one time I was skiing in Vail, and I was skiing by my brother, who's a pretty good skier because he lives out there. And I was on my cell phone being stupid, and I took a turn into a double black diamond,
Oh.
and there's no way out. There was like, I had to go down it. It was, and I'm not a bad skier. I can go down black diamond and do some moguls, not to a reason, but this one had car sized moguls and was steep. And I looked at this thing and I was like, and my brother called me. He's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm going to be a while. But I decided, I remember this. I still remember these stories because they're always learning things. Like, I got to get down this thing without killing myself.
Yep.
And I can look at the bottom of that hill and be intimidated as hell. Or I can do this. I can pick 3 or 4 moguls and make 3 or 4 turns, and pick 3 or 4 more, make 3 or 4 turns, make 3 or 4 turns. And that's what I did. And I got down the hill because I just took it section by section. Well, goals are much the same way. We have to break them down into small sections and just into more bite-sized pieces. And that's why I always say work yearly, quarterly, monthly, and then you have your weekly plans. And I always use like, one of the big things I got from coaching is every week is pick 3 big rocks. What are the top 3 things you need to accomplish? Give yourself a ranking. So when, getting the gym 3 times a week comes up, and then there's somebody who wants you to pick up the dry cleaning. Well, one of my big rocks is to get to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to do that. That's because that's got the higher rank. So if it's not in with my big 3 rocks, then it gets put into the not as high priority list. So, but I'll share some of my stuff with you guys. So you just have some good examples, and then we'll put you guys through a process here. Keep them visible for regular review. Another mistake I made is sometimes I've written these things out and then they go sit in a folder. I forget to print them out, and then I forget what I was doing, and I look at them and it's halfway through the month, and I could have made more progress had I been checking them enough. So I've learned that. I also, it's important to have them somewhere where you can regularly review them, because just like the mission, I like to put them with the mission statement, because you get up sometimes in these snowy, cold mornings, and even in the summer like this too, you just have these days where you need things to help you get motivated and figure out what am I trying to accomplish today. And then keep your action plans short. I say 5 max. I know Tanya and I train together, and she has a few key things she does every week, and you hit your weight loss goal for the year, right? And it was just doing steps. We have a steps, meal prep, and getting your home workouts in. It's like 4 things maybe, and we're water intake, and it's like 4 things, right? And you just do those over and over and over again, versus some people will write out a list of 10 things. That's just overwhelming. The guy who's, I would call my spiritual mentor, Mike Terry, has a phrase called maximal sustainable effort. And I talk about this a lot with clients, because everybody's maximal sustainable effort's different. It's kind of like a running race. Some people can run the race faster, and some people have to run at a different pace, but you get to run at your pace. But you're always going to pace yourself at a pace that you can handle. What's the fastest pace you can do without it overwhelming you? So what is your maximal sustainable effort? And that might change at different times of the year. Obviously I was training a nurse earlier this year, and obviously we had the COVID surge, and she had called in for extra hours. So her maximal sustainable effort was changed because she was on demand. Yeah. Like you, I know you work in healthcare too, Michelle. So obviously when that's probably going to be an ongoing thing, and I have another client who in the fall, his business just really ramps up. He writes insurance and benefits, and he has to renew all his contracts in the fall. So his maximal sustainable effort changes. So it does fluctuate throughout the year. So we just have to be aware of that. And then all areas of your life, sometimes we just do a fitness goal. But I'm a big believer in, you should be working on everything. So I have faith and spirituality, fitness, finances, family and friendships, and then your career or business. I think those are good areas to just have a well-rounded approach and not just focus on 1 or 2 areas.
How do you do that with only 5 max action plans?
Well, each goal has, and I'll show you mine. Each goal has like action steps for the week. And sometimes 1 or 2 action steps is all I have.
Okay.
And I'll show you mine just so you can see how I did it. Not that I do it perfect, but, and I might even have to go back and do a little revising too. And then I like to add pics. Pics are because I think they're visual for people. You'll see I actually use PowerPoint for mine because it's easy to add pics and stuff in there. And then the final thing I'll say, and I'll show you mine, and we'll kind of go into you guys, is to actually do a goal, start working on the process. But remember, like, goals are targets. If you aim and miss them, re-aim and then keep shooting till you hit the target. So you might not hit it exactly when you want, but I think the biggest thing is that you finish the task. Too often people give up. And then I think, you get used to quitting and not finishing things out. That becomes a habit, not a good habit. But, being committed to finish the goal. Now, sometimes you just simply can't finish the goal. Like I had a client who set a goal to, it was actually Jim Christian, who Michelle knows, but he set a goal to be on one of our fitness levels. But what we found out about Jim is there was a bench press. He had to hit a bench press goal for this. It was a fitness level thing we did where we had different levels of fitness. And one of the things, he had to bench press a certain amount, but we found out that his shoulder was just getting racked up doing bench press, and it wasn't worth the goal to wreck his shoulders. So sometimes you have to reconfigure in those situations, but most of the time, it's about creating that habit of finish what you started, and being a finisher, completing the mission. And so, I always say success is never a straight path. I mean, it's a perfect example for me this week. I had a really laid out plan, and here comes Tuesday, I get a COVID positive test, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to let it rattle me, because I know I'm going to hit my goals by the end of the year. This happened to me last year too. I had strength goals, and then I got COVID positive last November, and I was like, well, I'm out for 2 weeks. I'm still going to finish the mission, and it happened to you, Tanya. Remember, you're right in the middle of our deadlift goal. So I think that's just to be expected. There's never a straight line path to success. You're going to have good weeks and bad weeks. And I always say fitness is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but I would say that's everything. You're going to make some progress in an area, and then you're going to have a setback. You're going to make some progress, you have a setback. But if you think about 2 steps forward, 1 step back over time, you're always going to end up ahead. And I think the best goals are the most challenging ones, where you do have setbacks, because you learn, and it's like when you were in sports, like when you played a game, when I played football, if we just beat a team up and it wasn't challenging. I don't remember those games as much, but it was the true battles, the close games, that were the most rewarding when you pull out a close game. And I think those same goes with goals. When you have to fight for them, they're that much more sweet when you hit them. So let me see. I'm going to do
as he pulls that up, Tanya, I'm out here in Idaho.
Oh, okay.
And my brother-in-law trained with Eric, and I don't know if my sister did. And then a couple weeks ago,
for a while, yeah, she did.
My cousin's husband was the person of the week, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I got a lot of Minnesota connections with Eric.
Yeah.
And I come back a lot still. We still come back, and we don't come back in the winter. We're smarter than that.
All right, I'll share.
Honey, it's a small world.
It is.
All right, so I'm going to share some of my personal goals here. I'm going to get the screen sharing back up here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so these are my yearly ones. Like I said, I like doing it in PowerPoint, so you can just go one slide after another.
Mm-hmm.
But these are my long-term goals this year, and I put some numbers to them. I think just powerful for us to be praying more together. I'd like to get it to 5 times a week, and cooking dinner 3 times a week. I know like I was talking about, one thing that my wife really just wears her out is having to come home and cook dinner after work. And then we used to do quarterly retreats, and we got away with that with kids activities. So getting back to doing like some type of her and I going for a bed and breakfast, or a night away. And these are just some of the things for my marriage. And then like my family goals, move this down here. So, some of them, like a business goal, you're going to have sales goals and stuff, but like one family weekly activity, just a quarterly getaway. One thing that has been good is I do devotion time with my girls pretty much close to 5 times a week. And then one of the things I want to teach my girls is that you don't just get an allowance, you have to earn your money. So I got to come up with a commission system and job chart so that they don't just get handed money, that they learn that they have to work for it. And so you see I'm putting pictures to all these things. My sports ones, here's my fitness ones. Those are a little more dialed in, because you got strength goals in place, and body fat and all that. And then I go mental development. And so I'm doing like 1 new habit a month. There's a guy I follow on Instagram that has that, if you create 1 new habit a month, that's 12 new habits a year. I thought that was pretty powerful. So I got some mental goals, and then I have my financial
Wait, you're gonna run for something in politics? You're brave.
You know, I've been vetted to do it. I don't know if I'm feeling it. I told my business coach, she's kind of like, I have to go to a political meeting this month and make a decision, but I think I'm going to do it because I promised somebody I would, and I'm going to keep my word, but I'm not really feeling it. But they want me to, they're trying to get people that aren't politicians to get involved. And a lot of people do, but I just am not feeling like that's my calling. So, but you know, we'll see. I'll go to this thing and keep an open mind, but I'm not feeling it, to be honest. But this is like, actually, I use this Wheel of Life, and I can email you guys this. It's called the Best Life ebook. And it's a big book, and it's too much. The goal setting in there is way over the top, but they have this Wheel of Life I do every year. And the weakest area on my Wheel of Life is my lifestyle goals, meaning like doing fun things. And I was a park and rec major. So it's like, what happened to, you know, I was a recreation major in college, and I was all about creating recreation. I'm not doing my own. So like, I haven't done like a guy's trip with just my friends for a long time. And then mountain biking is something I really enjoy. And then like fishing's another thing I enjoy. So, and I have some traditions. So I just am like, getting, having a life outside of, work and family stuff is my weak area. So on this Wheel of Life, I need to get to an 8. So there's a score on that, and has not hit an 8 yet. And 8 would put it in balance with the other areas of my life. So it's the one area that kind of lags is just allowing myself to have some fun. And I got better at that this year, but it's still an important one to me. So I do have a tangible score attached to this goal. So these are just some of my lifestyle goals. And then I'll show you the business goals are, like my ministry goal here is a pretty good one. Like I started a ministry. So what am I going to do with this ministry this year? Am I just going to kind of use it as a hobby, or am I going to treat it like a thing? So, I have these, and these are all like, there's a lot there, but like I said, I break these. I don't do all these at once, but what am I going to do this quarter? Like my friend, Pastor Dennis in Uganda, has a church he wants to build. He told me it's $10,000, but can I raise $2,500 a quarter so we can get it done by the end? So I can break that goal into smaller pieces. Kind of amazing. You can build a church for $10,000. I'm sure the labor and the materials are a lot cheaper in Africa, but some of these other ones, like, relaunch this. Mm-hmm. And then, I just have some recurring income goals and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff there. That, but like I said, I break these into smaller goals. So I have this broken down into like quarterly goals, and I'm attacking like one or two of these things instead of all of them at one quarter. So it just, like I said, breaks them down into smaller quarters. So does that help to see?
I don't work in healthcare. I actually help refugees. Right now we have a ton from Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
Integrate into the community. So when you're ready to do your LLC and your banking and everything, I've done it a couple of times for people. I helped set up a church here in Boise too.
So you know how to do all that 501c3.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's not about, this could be a good action step, is to meet with you on how to do that the right way.
I'd be glad to help you.
Because right now it's all tied into my personal stuff, and I'm like, I really need to make it a separate entity like my business. So
it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's probably like the first time I set up my LLC. I had somebody help me do that too. So, but does this help to see these things a little bit?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big list, but like I said, it's broken down, and then you can see like, how did I break this down? Like my quarterly goals. I'll pull that up right here. So like I had 5 times a week. Well, I'm going to get to 3, and then I'm going to do my financial meeting and start contributing back to my Roth. And then here's our staycation. I've already intentionally designed it, the Afton house. We've already picked the weekend, and then getting to 2 times a week to cook meals and help, because I am a trainer, make sure we're having good nutrition. And then, my fitness goals, because I'm a fitness guy. So I have a ski trip. So I have a deadline here, and I have a spring break trip right after that. And then, I said 1 adventure trip. So I'm knocking some of these things. And then here's my goals for this, quarter. They're not exactly where they're at, but you can see they're smaller chunks of the other ones. So you can see I've broken these down. So this isn't a 1-hour process, and I don't want you guys to think you have to do everything. I'm a little bit crazy with this. So you just pick the categories you want. But it's not about, because I said I want to create, 12 new disciples who fit ministries. Well, I'm working on 3, recruiting 3 more people this month. that I can mentor with that, and, I target a lot of guys my age because they're kind of lost right now. A lot of them are facing midlife crises and like, what do I do with my life? And so it's actually a good place for me to target. So I'm getting guys to my meetings and stuff. So I want to get 3 new guys this month to go into our meetings regularly and mentoring them on a regular basis. So, I just have these laid out as, there's small steps towards those bigger goals. So any questions or anything? So you can see kind of, Michelle, how I just have like 2 or 3, like some of them have a few more action steps, but they're usually pretty small. The fitness ones are a little more involved because that's my strong area. So
Yeah.
See why I can put more action steps because that's my strong area. But for most of my clients, I expect like maybe 3 to 5 action steps at the most. So now we're gonna have you guys do this because you don't have to identify it all tonight, but pick one category and then let's take some time and write out a goal and why that goal is important. Now, this doesn't have to be your mission statement, but why is, this could be the purpose behind the goal. But I would go and find a mission statement that kind of blankets everything, because it's always about, I heard a pastor did this the other day, like, who do you want to be? And he's like, I want to be a dad that raises my kids up strong in the Lord and so that they become good, responsible adults. He goes, I want to be a husband that loves his wife and sets a good example for other marriages, like I want to be, and that's an all-encompassing mission statement. But behind every goal, there should be a good purpose, I just believe, like, fitness for me, I'll just use my purpose, like taking it away from my mission statement, is one, I have to be, it's powerful for me because one, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite because I got to practice what I preach. But also I know when I'm working out, I'm in shape. I'm not just physically better, I'm mentally better. I'm more energetic. I'm more alert. I'm more motivating. I'm just a better version of myself. And it's probably more back in my 20s when I was very shallow. It was all about trying to meet girls. But now it's about, man, if I don't work out, I can just tell it affects everything in my mindset. So that's a big purpose for me, because I know, like, once I work out, it's almost like my mind shifts into like go out and get it done mode, and I'm alert and ready for the day. So I'll have each of you pick a category. So you might not know all your goals tonight, but maybe pick one category and start the process. And then I want you guys to share with the group here. So I'm gonna give you a few minutes to, like, maybe spend some time writing this out, and I'm just gonna be quiet here. So I told you guys are gonna do some work tonight.
So you mean category, like I would choose
You could
fitness?
pick anything, finances, fitness. If there's a category, like, you might know, like, pretty clear, like, what you want to do this year in one category where it's pretty easy, but you might need a little more thinking time for other categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, fitness is actually tough because there's a lot of things I want to do, but I've learned, like, okay, there's only so much, because that's the one I have to really dial back. Because if I typically, that's the one I get overzealous in, and I realize, like, okay, I can't train for something 100, every day of the year, but what can I accomplish this year? And kind of looking at my year with trips and all that, where can I accomplish something? And then not getting too overzealous. And, like, a lot of times, like, some of the areas like finances is pretty easy to me because we hit a big goal 2 years ago to get debt free. And so, okay, now what do I do? Now I need to manage my money better. Well, there's a few things that need to happen. And, one is I need to be meeting with my financial advisor, just like a trainer. So that was really easy. And the other one is just like we have to protect our assets better. I have to update our will and stuff. So, but they're pretty easy, and I just have to get my wife more involved in the finances. So that one was pretty easy for me. There's a few key things that need to happen this year, not like fitness where I can go in so many different directions. So pick whatever you maybe pick one tonight that you're pretty clear on. Should we get the Jeopardy music playing here?
No.
if you're done, let me know. Are you done, Michelle? Your first one?
I'm done far enough to ask questions.
Sure, ask, that's what I'm here for. I'm just considering if you have questions. What do you at? Yeah, you have a question for me?
Well, yeah, just to go over it and go, am I anywhere
Oh,
close?
okay. Do you want me to just go over it? All right.
Yeah, Tanya, I don't.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep, we can go forward. Yep.
All right, tell me what you got.
We're good at this. So I'm going to pick my weak area, which is fitness. I like to have fun and enjoy my friends and family way too much and work too hard. So if I look at what I want to do in 2022, I want to lose 25 pounds. I actually, back when I did the little black dress with you, I was about 15 pounds lighter than I am now. And then I told you I got melanoma and had 3 surgeries, and then I had frozen shoulder, and yeah. So I'm ready again. Everything on that front is good. So, so I don't know. I mean, so then my purpose is because, like you, I believe that mentally, physically, my well-being is better when I'm exercising, so it's not just the 25 pounds, it's nutrition and it's exercising and all those things. So I don't know which thing goes where. Like regular exercise, I'm going to start out with a small goal, maybe but 3 times a week, because I know what else I do in my life. And maybe it's a minimum steps per day plus 3 times a week of additional exercise. And then for me, one of the things that I love when I'm good at it, and I'm not right now, is like if I do laps at the Y, or if I do my walk, I go through and I pray for about each of 12 laps. I just praise, and then I pray for me, and then I pray for my husband, and then I pray for my children, and then I pray for my grandchildren. So I combine it with faith.
That's awesome.
But I don't know what goes in which place. Goal, purpose, and action.
I think
steps.
the goal is pretty clear. You want to lose 25 pounds.
That's simple
Just
enough.
have to put it by is it by 12/31/2022, or is it a certain other date that maybe you have an event or something?
I'm just good with 12/31.
So yeah, I mean, now it's breaking it down into like, okay, well, quarterly, that's like 6 pounds a quarter, right? 6.25 pounds a quarter. You just break it into 4s, or you could even say I want to do it before the holidays. If you want to, that's where the adjustment comes in. Like, okay, I want to hit it before the holidays. Before the holidays get here, because I know holidays are always kind of tough. So that's sometimes we got to think about, okay, the holidays. If I don't hit it by the holidays, I might not hit it. Just know yourself. But I would say that's just put a deadline to that goal, because that's a really easy one. Lose 25 pounds, and then you said your purpose. And then I think your action steps are really simple. It's 3 times a week to the gym, and then you're walking your spiritual walk, or something, you could call it that. How many times a week, and that could actually that's the other thing I didn't mention that you just actually brought up a good point, is some of these goals can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I think that's where you're getting some of you're working on your spirit and your body. That's awesome, because that's efficient to me. Like, you're getting some extra movement in, but plus you could even put walking, do my spiritual walk for 30 minutes 2 times a week, or whatever, how often you do that. And then I would say, because I know you're doing this, a good action step would be just complete my complete the new year plan. That's that's going to deal with your nutrition. And so that could be your other action steps. You got 3 things. I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to walk and do my praise and prayer walk. And then I'm going to do the 6 week. I'm going to do it, which to me, I would say is I'm actually going to check in and do all the things necessary, just like we do with the little black dress. So, and I know you're good at that. So that's, you've already committed to that. So that can just be an action step. So you really got 3 things there, because I really believe you might even be way ahead after doing, the VOD squad thing. So, but if you're ahead of the time, that's kind of nice. If you hit it early, great. That happens sometimes. Sometimes that goal comes up quicker, and you're like, maybe I need to
that's okay.
Raise the bar a little bit, maybe, or do something different.
Mhm.
How about you, Tanya? What do you got?
Well, I've got the goal we talked about. I want to lose 20 pounds by the time I'm 50. So that's June.
Okay.
Just to stay feeling good, stay focused on my health, and be able to keep up on our vacations, hiking, and with the grandkids and stuff. And my action steps are the 3 times a week strength training and working out with you guys, and then my steps on the opposite days. A new one for me now is the increase the cardio, because that's a really tough one for me. So I want to focus on that, dial in more on the clean eating and nutrition. And the other one that's a little bit different this time, I think I need to focus more on kind of the body image issues and not, so those are the 2 big ones, is the increased cardio and the body image issues that I need to focus on.
So then it would be like, I think just taking those action steps and make them a little more tangible, like what does it, does it mean we have to define, and we can do this next week too, is like dial in, like, what does it mean to focus on the clean eating a little more? And we can define what that looks like. So we just want to make sure, what does that look like? Because, for someone like me, that's going to be very clearly defined. I know what, but you're not doing a physique show. So it's like, well, what does clean eating for Tanya look like, and that might be, I've had people set goals like, no sugar, 6 times a week, no sugar or something, what does that look like? And maybe it's hitting certain macros or something like that on the Fitness Pal, something like that. What we can get a little more tight with that. And then the body image thing, it's like, like, is there someone, obviously you work in a clinic, is there someone there maybe you can get into some program, find a program to deal with? Because I'm sure there is something, out there where, I think that's a good, I have another client right now I do online training with, and one of our action steps is, he was just he wasn't like getting drunk, but he was drinking every night, and it runs in his family. And one of his things I convinced him to do was, his action step was, he started talking to a counselor that deals with that. And I said, the counselor give an assessment, do you have a problem or not? And he apparently doesn't have a problem, they don't think, but they are going to help him regulate it more, because he uses it as kind of a crutch, like a lot of people do, but it throws off everything, his sleep and everything like that. So I'm glad he took that step. So we said, okay, and he actually, I said, I want you to text me after you make that appointment. And he did. So it's like, some of those things are great steps, because I think, a lot of times we can lay out the best plan, but it's like, we only deal with this in the bot squad is, what are the triggers? You got to identify some of the triggers of what keeps you stuck, or what takes you down. And then how do I deal with that? And the bod squad people I was talking about, one of my triggers was, I started to realize, like, when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cleaning up the dishes or making food, sometimes I start to just grab things and snack. I usually don't if I'm making a big meal or it takes me, I'm in the kitchen for a long time. So, one of the things I've learned is, if I can just get some like sparkling water, that actually takes care of that trigger, but it's like, that's a strategy, and this guy was just talking about, like, he would work late into the night, and then that would kind of trigger him to drink. I had him set an alarm on his phone that says, you got an hour to finish up what you're doing. So he has an hour to kind of shift down and then get ready for bed. So just things like that can be very, very helpful to make things a habit, and to replace a habit with a different one that's healthier for you. But yeah, I think that's one of the things is like, okay, I want to deal with this, but what's my tangible step to deal with that? And is it, first it's maybe meeting with a couple different people that can work with me on that and doing the interview process, and then picking one out. So that's what I just is make that a little bit tighter, like it's kind of like for my wife, it's like, if I said I want to cook dinner more often, I just said, okay, what do I want to get to realistically with my personal training business? 3 times a week would probably be a lot. It'd be enough to really give her a break. But could I do it 5 times a week right now? Probably not, just the way my business and everything else goes, and just with kids and sometimes it's kids activities. So
Yeah.
that's that maximal, like what's realistic, by the end of the year, and that's where I look at it and go, yeah, I mean, that, if I said 7 nights a week, that isn't very realistic, and setting myself up for failure. But that's what we all do a lot of times. We want to be perfect versus, can we get consistent and be more consistent with our goals? And, I always preach that, that, Tanya, because you work directly with me, but it's not about the perfect day, but it's consistently, focusing on your steps. It's consistently, getting your workouts in. And yeah, you're going to have weeks where you don't hit your numbers, but most weeks you are, and that'll get you there. I think people kind of come into this New Year's resolution thing with, I've got to do everything perfect. And as soon as they don't, they quit or they give up and they start beating themselves up versus, that's where when you dial it back and even like when stuff happens, like, okay, instead of getting upset about it, like, okay, how do I come back and make sure that, do a better job of making sure that doesn't happen again? Like, oh, I gave in to like, a real common one is, I know what to do, but then I get home and I'm really hungry at night and I eat too much. And it's like, then you start looking, it's like, well, do you have an afternoon snack? Well, no, I don't. Well, let's try putting something in at 3 o'clock, even though you're not hungry, and balance your blood sugar a little bit so your blood sugar doesn't crash out. And then maybe you won't be as hungry. And a lot of times just one simple thing can fix that, but instead of saying, oh, I suck, I eat too much at night, I just can't control my appetite. It's like, okay, why is that happening? Is it emotional or is it physiological because your blood sugar is in the tank because you haven't eaten anything since noon, So
Right.
a lot of times it's a simple fix. And it's like, and looking at these things objectively and not letting emotions take over and saying, okay, this happened. So why did it happen? So what am I going to do about it? Like with working out, I know for me, I'm always learning. And there's like, sometimes the best lessons I've had is when I've gotten hurt doing something, I've done a nagging injury or something. And I'm like, I should have known better. And that's like sometimes when clients don't warm up, I'm like, I came in here and did that one time in here. I was kind of said, I'm not gonna do my warm up. And I had a heavy squat day. And I said, I pulled my quad on my first set, had to go upstairs and kinesio tape it. I said, I never did that again on legs, especially on legs day. So I mean, sometimes those lessons are good when you make a mistake and be okay with that. That's part of the process too, is, goals aren't meant to be like, they're not meant to be these birds. I think they're kind of like, these little journeys are meant to, you're supposed to learn along the way. And, you can have, like in our field, you can have all the certifications and, master's degree and all that. But I think the best trainers are the ones that have actually done the stuff and they know all the little nuances and they can teach what not to do as much as what to do because they've made those mistakes. So, and that's even like when I was a football coach, same thing. We always talked about my position I coach was footwork and, I knew if my footwork was off and believe me, it was off sometimes and I got beat on some plays and I'm like, well, this is why I got beat. It's like, I learned that way, but everything in life, if you take that, if you're good at everything, it's never going to be, there's not going to be stimulus there. So
I changed my goal already.
Okay. Would you change
Well,
it?
actually, I got it back to 25 though, because I've started to play with it. So really, usually in the beginning, when you have more weight to lose, it's easier to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to lose 3 pounds a month for 5 months and 2 pounds a month for 5 months. And I'm going to take July off when I come back to Minnesota and go to the cabin.
Good. I think that's awesome though. That's how it should
Steady.
But that's actually awesome. That that's how you do good goal setting though. You actually have to look at your life and say, like, can I do this goal? And if I do it, how am I going to get it done? So like 2 years ago in 2019, I said, okay, I told this guy at the gym, I'm going to do a physique show when the time's right. And I looked at this guy, I met this guy at the other gym I work out at, and he does that. And I got to know him pretty well. And I said, I'm going to hire you. So at the beginning of 2019, when I did this process, I said, I'm going to do a physique show this year. I'm going to hire this guy's name's Major. And I knew like, okay, but I have my turkey hunting trip in South Dakota. How am I going to do that? So I had to tell my dad, I said, I'm doing this goal. And it's going to be weird, but we're going to be out hunting. I'm going to have a cooler full of food and I'm not going to be eating hamburgers and French fries at night after we come in from hunting. I have a specific goal. And we had walleye fishing opener, which is a big deal. You guys, both being connected in Minnesota. And I'm like, well, I told my dad, I said, I'm gonna have to bring my food up and you guys like fried walleye, but I was sitting there eating like egg whites and green beans or something the night of, but I just said, okay, can I do this thing? And I said, what are my biggest obstacles? My biggest obstacles are those trips or those weekend things where I could have really gotten thrown off because 80-90% of that goal is staying on your nutrition. So and I found it was actually a great, because it was a 6-month process. And then I actually liked that because it's 6 months, so I could actually go at it slow, where in the past I'd done like 3.5 months and I'd have to work. There was no room for error. But like during that process, kind of like you, Michelle, I had a week to Tucson to visit my stepson at college. Well, I was doing really good on it, so I could take that week and kind of shuttle back a little bit. And I knew I was going to make my goal, but I didn't have to, like my coach at the time said, you're not going to crash and you're going to glide into your goal. And I think that's instead of like trying to cram to get it done, like we used to cram for a test. And I think that's really wise when you say, I'm going to hit my goal, but I know this month here, I'm going to just probably put it neutral for that month. But then I'm going to put it back and drive the next month. So
I'll
that,
put it in neutral because I'll tell you what, it's really hard to find fresh vegetables in northern Minnesota. It's a long trip to the grocery store.
yeah, it's the stores up there are a lot different in that, I think we were up north one time and my wife ordered a mojito up there and I'm like, are you kidding me? And like you can't get a mojito up in northern Minnesota. That's crazy, it's crazy. So I'm like,
Tanya, where do you live?
I live in Medford. It's by Owatonna,
Oh, okay.
but I work in Burnsville, so.
Medford, Oregon is really, close to me, but I think it's event.
I've been there. It's not,
Oh, cool.
I'm more from the Lakeville area, but I moved down to Medford.
The outlet mall. It's one of the outlet malls. That's
Yeah,
claim to fame.
the deserted outlet mall.
Is it deserted now?
Oh,
It's very few stores in there. There are a lot of them are closing, just like everywhere else.
Did
Yep.
Egan do damage to it? Is that what did it?
What?
Did the Egan one do some damage to it?
No, it's been kind of going down for a while. I mean, a lot of the retail stores are.
Yeah, but the Egan one's always busy. I go there. I mean, that's right by our house here. So
Yeah, but that's a different area. I mean, people have to drive a little ways to get to this one. So
yeah, well, that's why I figured
Yeah.
it was like, people from the cities now, they don't have to go down to an outlet mall. I would wonder if Egan did some damage to it.
that could be. Yeah, it might be. Just a quick question, Eric. So like when you said dial in a little bit more, so would it be like if I said, I'm going to focus on clean eating 4 days a week, no processed foods and no extra sugar?
Yeah, we
Is
just
that-
you have to help, and I like it when it's client led. You're going to see this in the body bot squad. This client led is like, okay, what is clean eating to you? And I might give you a little guidance and say, okay, what about making sure we have 20 grams of protein, so we keep you, because of satiety and retaining muscle mass. So I might say like that might be our criteria for what's a clean eating day. It doesn't have to be a book, but it could be like no sugar, no processed foods, and adequate protein. So.
Okay.
What's adequate protein? Well, 20 to 30 grams at a meal is adequate. We could define what those parameters are, and that's where my guidance, like, well, I have protein here. Well, it's only 6 grams. Okay, well, we probably should get some more just so you're not starving, because protein creates that satiety in you. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I think that's good. If you just kind of say, what does clean eating look like, and just have a few bullet points of what that looks like. It doesn't have to be like, perfect. It could be those things, because you've been, it's just taken, like we've dialed it up a notch, and we created like we said, we created another hit thing for you. And it may be even like cardio wise. Okay, what do you want to do to add to your cardio? Right now you got the hit home workout. Maybe it's doing one of our hit classes online at night or something like that, adding another cardio workout.
Don't get too crazy here.
I'm just saying, give you
increased
examples.
cardio right now.
Maybe it's adding, one more cardio, because I know we do some of it in our workouts, but what does that look like? Does it mean adding one more cardio workout to the week? So you've got 2 like hard cardio workouts during the week, so we just have to define what that looks like to you.
Well, Ryan's pushing it too, so.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, I just know, like with Ryan's workouts and then adding that cardio, I can tell that's a really weak spot for me. So
Sure.
I feel like if I can really increase that and work on that, that's going to help with my goals.
Yeah. And plus just the fact, I think if you could maybe even take and say, okay, well, I work out with those guys Monday, Wednesday, work out on my own Friday. And what about like Tuesday and Thursday, adding a cardio in? And it could be a hit class, or it could be just like, I make you a cardio plan for home or something like that. Like I did for the other one, it's just another cardio plan, or we can define what that looks like to you. I know some people like the hit because it's always different, and it keeps a little variety in the program too. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I hope this, like, and then I would say, okay, now you guys have got 2 categories, you got fitness going. So now look at your others, and some of them, like I said, are going to go quick, because you might just have some simple action steps, like one of the things that's become, I think, a good habit for my wife and I is we have two date nights a month, and we've been pretty good about hitting that consistently. That's my goal for our marriage is that we go out on 2 date nights a month and do something like that and get out of the house, and the kids see that, so I mean, that's one I kind of feel like is off and running from this past year. But then what can I do to keep working on that part of my life? Because I think that's another thing too. Like we look at our primary relationship, and we don't look at it like we do our fitness. but we should be, I think intentional in every area of our life. So, if that's, the most important relationship next to the Lord, it's like, well, we should probably work on that. And I think that's why a lot of marriages don't do well, because nobody really thinks of it that way. They just it's there, and it's just kind of in maintenance mode, or, I'll get to it when I can. And we know how that works with fitness, like, oh, I'll get around if I can fit it in. Well, if I can fit you in as my spouse, how's your marriage going to look? So if you apply the same vigor and effort to your marriage that you do your fitness, you're going to see results. I mean, years ago, when I learned to speak Spanish, I remember, like, in my 20s, I remember when I was traveling a lot, and I remember I had a girlfriend at the time who spoke Spanish, and she would actually kind of get on me because I didn't know it. And, like, she had lived in Costa Rica. She was from here, but I'm like, well, I never lived in Costa Rica. But it was almost like the opposite, because she would, like, criticize me. And then we broke up and everything, but I still like to travel Latin America. So I had a friend at the other job I was at, and he said he would teach me Spanish. So I actually paid him to tutor me between training lessons. And I said, you know what, if I treat this like my fitness and I do something almost every day for it, it will get better. And I never took Spanish in high school or college, but I just had a real purpose. My purpose was strong because I loved to travel and I wanted to create relationships on it. And, like, I'd been to Thailand and stuff, but I'm like, how often am I going to speak Thai and how often am I going to be to Thailand? But I can practice Spanish right here in the Minneapolis area. So it just made more sense. And I remember just dedicating like 5 or 6 days a week. I'd meet with him and he'd give me like stuff to do, and then I'd go do it. And then I would, like, every quarter I'd travel down to Mexico or something, because I had airline employees, and I would put myself in a situation where I had to speak Spanish. I'd go to, like, not Cancun, but Mexico City or somewhere like that. And that's how I did it. And it was like fitness, it was almost like a physique show or powerlifting meet. As I would set up an event that I have to train my Spanish for, and I put myself in a situation where I had to show up. Like, Mexico City, a lot of them don't speak English, so I had to show up with Spanish, and it was the same process. But I'm pretty fluent to this day, and it's like and I never took it in school, and it was all the same process I was just talking about. It was just having a real simple action plan. Is 5 or 6 days a week I'm going to meet with my tutor, and then every quarter I'm going to make sure I do a trip and put myself. And then actually I would go into, like, some of my good friends had a supermercado, and I said one of my goals was to go in there and try to speak Spanish with them. And it was ugly the first time I did it, but we got to be good friends, and now we go back and forth. They actually have helped me with some of my rental properties, because they don't own a supermercado, but they do painting and siding and all that. So they helped me fix up some of my rental properties for sale, and I'm still connected to those guys, all from that goal. So now I have friendships. And then I went down to Mexico City, and they hooked me up with their family, and most of their family didn't speak English, so that's how you learn. But it was a fourth event. Like, I have to come down there, and I better have some Spanish speaking ability. It's going to be a long weekend down there in Mexico City. So
Por eso vamos a hablar en español la próxima vez.
Sí, podemos hacerlo si quieres.
We lived in Mexico. We lived in Guadalajara for 3 years.
Oh, did you?
3.5 years. So.
Oh, I love Mexico. Yeah, it's just too bad with all the cartels.
Us too. We love it.
We Kim and I went to Colombia for our 10-year anniversary, and we liked Cartagena. That was really cool. But Costa Rica, I actually
my kids are going to Mexico for their 10-year anniversary, because, well, they were little kids when we lived there. So my daughter's going for her 10-year anniversary in October.
Oh, awesome. In Guadalajara, that's the Mexico. That's like the Mexican culture capital, I've heard.
It is. Yep.
The mariachis and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I didn't know that about you. That's awesome. Yeah, it's been a blessing. I know last year at this time, that was funny, because I was like, just talking about being intentional. I'll close with this. I set a goal, like, my Spanish has kind of just gone backwards because I haven't had an opportunity. And that's why I prayed on it. And I said, that's the other thing I said. I gave it to God. I said, I want an opportunity to speak Spanish. Well, I don't think that this client, Tanya, but Pastor Johnny, one of my clients, Gisela, from the past, reached out to me, and they're from Costa Rica, and her friend Johnny, her husband Johnny's a pastor. They have pastor Hispanic church right down the road from my studio. Well, they came in and started training with me twice a week, and we did it all in Spanish. And then now I went over and did a talk in Spanish at the church.
Oh, great.
And it's created a lot of business opportunities, as well as a connection with that church. And I've taken my girls to church there, and he won't, and they have the translator headset if people, like, if the gringos show up.
Wow.
But I'm like, he's like, you can't wear that. And I have to go in and, but it's been but I mean, like, I prayed on that. I was intentional of it last year. And now I find myself speaking it all the time, because members of that church come into our studio all the time now.
Oh,
And then
that's
I've been
great.
over to that church for events, and but it was just that intention of like, that was one of my mental goals last year, is to get back on my Spanish and speak it regularly. Well, now I find myself almost every day when I'm in my gym speaking it. So and it's been really good, but it was that intention at the beginning of the year. And the Lord put an opportunity in my lap of, these people need fitness help. They're from Costa Rica. Now we're good friends. You know, Johnny was texting me in Spanish about the crappy Viking game the other day and stuff, and we go back and forth. So it's been a real blessing. But that was, I just thought of that last year. That was a big intention of mine. And it's like, my Spanish has gotten so much, it's come back, and it's probably even better than it's ever been this year, just because now I'm doing it so often, you know. But I started out the year of 2021 with the intention of, I need to get that back up and going, you know. So
Well, my daughter will text you about the crappy Vikings games too. So, well, you probably should get back to your family. It's been an hour, so.
yeah. Well, I hope this was helpful, you guys. So now your charge
And
is
fun.
to take these other categories and then work them into yearly goals, and then work them back. And then I would say, send me your homework when you get done with it. And it might take a week or so to do this, you know, depending on what your schedule, but take a few times to go through and really refine these out. You know, like I said, some of them are going to be more clear and easy, and other ones are going to be a little more challenging and detailed. So
Sounds good.
cool.
Nice to meet you, Tanya.
You too. Take care. Thanks, Eric.
Yes. See you, Tanya. Que tengas un
Yep.
buena noche, Michelle.
All right. Gracias. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Bye-bye. Oh.